Is there anyone here today that never heard of detoxing? A few of y'all? Okay. So, just like detoxing where you flush out all the negative food that you've been putting in your body, you kind of need to detox in your mind so you can kind of have that balanced flow and making good decisions. So, let's talk about our first point. Just like there are fallacies in writing, there are fallacies in negative emotional thinking. So we got irrational thinking, which is fear or just sheer laziness of not wanting to put an effort to think. And herd mentality, where you're peer pressure or just want acceptance. Simply psychology states that irrational thoughts aren't reason and evidence enough to be logic. And science.org says in their article that herd mentality tendency to follow others than independent decision. These negative effects can actually destroy your critical thinking. So here is the second point. This is the detoxing steps, and I'm going to give you 4 steps. First one, evaluating. This is basically evaluating your news source or social media information that your maybe opinionated teacher that's not in educating really, or any publication that might have herd mentality tendency of way of thinking. So how do you evaluate? 1, don't jump into conclusion. 2, dig your resource. You have to really understand what the resource is being put out and really evaluate for your mind benefit if it's true or not. 2, reflection. This is the part where it's not going to be the easy part of detoxing. Just like, the beginning, evaluating. That's like the detox is, I'm going to do this. And then you realize, oh, this is not what I thought it was. And then you sit by somebody who's eating juicy hamburger and you remember you can't have it. This is what reflection. This is basically seeing if you're mentally stable. If you're not mentally stable and come to that conclusion, seek out help. There are people who are willing to help you. And step 3. This is the downward slope of detoxing. This is a smoother edge. This is when you're starting to see the results. This step is ask questions. This is basically giving you permission to be the why child. My sister and I, a funny story, we were the why child. And she would ask always why, and I was trying to engage in deep conversation with my father. Questioning established proofs. And this is what this step does. And lastly, engage. This is the art of practicing and embracing understanding. This means understanding that everybody has a different viewpoint and not always subjecting to one per se viewpoint, but reasoning out that maybe this viewpoint might be better, or maybe this person has asked the truth. This step will help you finalize that you have balanced your mind. So I've showed you the negative aspects of negative emotion impacting decision making and how you can balance it and how the steps, evaluating, reflecting, and ask questions and engaging really sets that and bounce back into motion. And I hope what I gave you, these steps, you can utilize personally for your own benefit and restoring your mind. Right. Is there anyone here that never heard of detoxing? Okay, a few of y'all. But just like how you detox to get out the bad food that you've been putting in your body, there's a detoxing that you need to do to cleanse your mind. So why you need to cleanse your mind? Well, if you live in a negative emotional way of thinking, it can lead up to bad decision making. And so, just like how writing a paper, there's fallacies in those, there is a fallacies in your mind that can literally be harmful for you. And here's two of them. Irrational thinking, which could be either fear, or it could be just lazy, you purely don't really care. Or herd mentality, where you're peer pressured or you just want to be accepted. Simply Psychology says that irrational thoughts aren't evidence enough to be considered logic. And ScienceInsights.org, in their paper, What is Herd Mentality? They say that herd mentality tendency to follow others than independent decisions. This way of life of making a negative emotional decision can impact not just you, but others. So if you're very unstable, or if you're following the crowd without having any reason behind it, you could actually do more damage in our society than actual help. So, how do you get to avoid that? It's simply by doing 4 steps of detoxing steps for your mind through critical thinking. Step 1, evaluating. This is basically evaluating news sources, evaluating any social media publications, maybe a teacher that might be biased and have very opinionated and not really giving actual facts, or any publication that might be even steered towards herd mentality way of thinking. So how do you evaluate? 1, don't jump into conclusions. And 2, by digging your own resource. This is where you become a researcher, basically. You're researching. Just like you have to research the process of detoxing your healthy gut, you have to do it the same way for a healthy mind. Step 2, reflection. This is going to be the harder step in the detoxing process. Just like when you're doing the detoxing, when you're first saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do it, and then you realize, oh, this is so much more work than I thought. Because while you're starving because you've been drinking nothing but green juice, your next door neighbor over here is eating a juicy hamburger, which you can't have. So just like that, in your gut, you have to do it for your mind. And this is where you're trying to see if you're mentally stable. If you're not mentally stable and you have come to that conclusion, seek help. There are people who are willing to help you. 3rd step, ask questions. This is where you get permission to be the why child. And funny story, my sister and I were the why childs. Amy will always ask why, and I always would try to engage my father to engage with me in deep conversation. Questioning establishes proof. You got to have to establish proof of any information that you process in your mind. And lastly, the fourth step, engage. This is the art of practice and embracing understanding. This is where you understand that there are people with different viewpoints, and also it's engaging critical thinking, where you can have a critical thinking conversation with somebody without being biased, without judgment, without following a crowd. I told you the dangers of what negative emotional thinking can lead to decision making. And I also said you're not hopeless. There is a way to rebalance your mind by the 4 steps of detoxing and critical thinking, which is evaluating, reflecting, asking questions, and engaging. So I hope what I gave you could be useful for you in your future if you think you're in a negative emotional space and you want to have better decision making, so you reevaluate your life and balance it by critical thinking with these steps.